like this where it's really, really long and it keeps going on. We don't want to write everything out on that one row because it just goes off forever and we're taking up so much space on our paper. What we can do is we can kind of split that row up into two different rows. When we do that, it's called a split stem and leaf plot. So we're going to write each stem twice, so we're going to split up every stem up into two rows. Even the ones that don't have a whole lot of numbers for them, everything's going to be split into two rows. Just like previously, we don't want to just willy-nilly put the numbers anywhere. We want to have some sort of a pattern to it. So when we have these two rows for each stem, on the top row, we're going to write all of the digits 0 through 4. So anytime you have a leaf that's 0 through 4, you'll put it on the top row. And then if you see 5 through 9, you're going to put that on the bottom row instead. So down here we have one where it's doing a split stem and leaf plot. I'm actually going to not do this one. I'm going to do the one that we just did up here, so that way we don't have to redo anything in our calculator. So here for this example, we're just going to do the previous example with split stems. So don't worry about the new numbers because I don't want to have to type 51 new numbers into my calculator. So don't worry about these. I'm just going to do this data and I'm going to put it down here for my split stem and leaf plot. Okay, so my stems, I had from 8 to 17. Oh, that's going to be a lot, huh? Well, we'll see if we can fit them all. All right, so starting with 8, I'm going to have each stem written twice. 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13. 17, 17, as far as I needed to go. So I've got all my stems. I'm going to write each of them twice, and then for my leaves, I'm going to put the let me go all the way up to the top. All right, so my 8s, I've only got the one, right, 8.1, 8.1. So since that leaf is a 1, it's going to go in the top row. I'm going to put a 1 right here. And that's it. And then for my next number, it's 9.0, so I'll put a 0 here in the top row for my 9. Because anytime we have the digits 0 through 4, it goes in the top row. If we have 5 through 9, it's in the bottom row. If we move down to our 10s, so here we've got 10.2. So if we look at the 2 rows for our 10, we've got a 2 goes in the top row, but then we have a 5 and a 7. The 5 and the 7 have to go in the bottom row because that's the digits 5 through 9. For 11s, I've got 2 5s. Those are going to have to go in the bottom row because 5 through 9 go in the bottom row. Right, and for 12, in the top row, I'll have a 0, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4. 4, but once I get to 12.6, I have to come down to the bottom row because the digits 5 through 9 are in the bottom row. 6, 6, 7, 8, and then another 8. Alright, so this is my 12s. If I come and look at my 13s, I've got in my top row a 0, 1, 3, 4. Once I get to the 13.5, that needs to come down to the bottom row because my digits 5 through 9 are always in the bottom row. So I've got 5, 6, 7, 7, 7. 14, I have 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3. 3, 3, 4. And then once I get 14.6, that has to go on the bottom row, so I've got a 6 and a 9 on the bottom row for that one. For my 15s, on the top row I have a 0 and a 3. For the bottom row, I've got a 5 and a 6. And then I've got 16.0, that goes in the top row for the 16s. 17.8, that goes in the bottom row for my 17s. And so that's what it would look like if you have a split stem and leaf plot. Just like that. Notice that when we have blanks, so we've got a few lines here that don't have anything written in them, you don't want to put a 0. So when we did frequency distributions, we said 0 because 0 is the frequency. You don't want to do that when you're doing a stem and leaf plot, because if you put a 0 here, that would indicate we have the number 11.0, and we don't have the number 11.0 anywhere in our data set. So you don't want to put a 0 here because that would represent a number that doesn't exist. So one option is just to leave everything blank. And in your homework though, I think they want you to type a capital N whenever there's nothing in there, just to double check to make sure you didn't forget anything. So in your homework, you're going to put an N for none in all of these that don't have anything in them. So don't put a 0 because that means it's a number. So we're going to use a letter instead to indicate there's nothing in there. And then again, if you turn your head to the right, you can kind of see it. It's a histogram, but now that we've separated it out a little bit, it almost looks like it's bimodal. We have this peak here, it comes down, and we have another peak up here. So this would be if we have a histogram where the class width is 0.5, rather than the first one we did, it would be if we had a class width of 1. So this is a little bit more spread out, but that's how you would do a split stem and leaf plot. When you have these ones, the thing to remember is just make sure that your leaves are in order, and that you don't put any commas between those. Those are the ones that people miss most often on the test, getting points taken off, is if they don't put their leaves in order and if they throw commas in there. So just don't do either of those things. This one's going to be, the last one is a dot plot. This is one where you just have to do multiple choice, pick which one is correct.